Hello, I am Sophie. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a video that I thought would be just a little silly, just a little fun. As you can tell by the title of the video, today I'm just gonna be chatting about trends that I've found in my writing projects. Everyone, ever to exist, has biases and has preferences. That's just natural. It's gonna happen. And lately, especially after I filmed the All My Projects video, I was like, oh, there's like a lot of trends within my projects. Not to say that every project is like about the same thing, but it's like almost like I've made my own set of tropes in my books. So today we're gonna talk about those. What are my tropes? First of all, the biggest one, and the one that literally I have not been able to escape in a single project, is multiple main characters. I don't have a single project where we only see one perspective. In every project I have, there's at least two point of views. Well, third person point of views. They're not like actually in that character's voice, but every project I have, we are seeing it from at least two people's perspectives. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Writing multiple POVs is literally my favorite thing ever. And like being able to see the story come together through multiple people's point of views, through what other people see and their opinions on it, and like, I don't know, just seeing it all come together through the different characters, so good. Especially when you can use the multiple POVs to have the like conclusion or like the aha moment click for the reader before it clicks for the characters. So much fun. And also just like seeing how the characters interact with each other, what they think of each other, like it's so good. The drama it can create like naturally is just peak. Second is sibling dynamics. Either they literally are siblings like in Project Glass, or they're just like, they have that sort of banter where they know each other enough to know when they can mess with the other person, when they're going too far, exactly how to annoy them. Like that is so good. That right there is my favorite. A lot of the times they are not siblings. I feel like Project Glass and Project Moonrat, they will be brothers, but I haven't written that yet, so. But literally only those two are actually like people that are related to each other. Everyone else are people that just met, and typically over time that sibling dynamic sort of builds, but once we get there, it's so good. And this also just kind of goes with like a lot of the characters I make, their end game is friendship. It's not a romantic relationship. There is one project basically where the two main characters are on track to be in a relationship by the end of the series, but most of the time that is not the end goal. That is not the end goal that I have in mind for these characters, because when I build them as like a set of main characters, it comes from like, you guys are a little group. You guys are like family. So it feels kind of weird on my end to be like, oh, and now you're dating. Like, it does not work. It does not work. Not to mention that my main characters' love interests are typically secondary characters or full-on side characters. Like, there's already someone for them. Like, it's not gonna be one of the main characters. Okay, and then last thing about characters, last one I have about characters, I promise, is scientific-leaning characters. Obviously, big bias here. I can't deny that. I, if you don't know, I guess, am an astronomy major, which at my university is technically an astrophysics major, but I'm an astronomy major. Very sciencey, space, math, etc. So I have a fairly scientific way of thinking. And that is, you know, that's how I know how to think. So a lot of the time, my way of thinking will be projected onto the characters. That's how writing works. So a lot of the time, my characters are very scientific. Like Project What, two of the main characters are very scientific in different ways. I guess they're more like nerds in different ways. One of the female main characters, she is a proper nerd. She wants to be an engineer. She's big on physics. Like, she is going all the way in that sense. And then the male main character is more of like science-y, but in like a sci-fi way, where he loves learning about these concepts that really are still in the science fiction realm that like technically could work. So he likes a lot of that conceptual stuff because he sees it in shows, he sees it in video games, he's read it in books. I mean, the female main character, she does dabble in that, but she's more down to the practical science. She likes doing science that she can apply. The last main character, the main character of Project What, I made sure was not scientific. First of all, because I thought that was going to be lame to have all three characters be that sort of like mathy STEM type. I won't spoil it because that's a big thing about her arc in the book, but I will tell you that she is not scientific. That's her, like, that's her opening thing. She's like, I'm at this school, most people are here to, you know, get into a research field or get into like engineering or like stuff like that. And she's not that kind of person, but she needs to find something that she could do to get off of the island. So that's her whole thing. So I won't go any further into her deal. But she was one character that I definitely made sure was not scientifically inclined. But most of the rest of what I write is sci-fi, so it does make sense for the characters to be scientific, for them to lean that way. So like, it's not like out of place where it's like there's always like a nerd that like knows way too much, but sometimes it might feel that way. I don't know. And beyond that, I feel like that sort of investigative inclination is sort of inherent to the kind of stories I write, because a lot of the time my books surround a mystery that makes up the world that the story takes place in. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but a lot of the books that I write have this thing that they don't understand, and it's a big thing, and understanding that thing means, you know, reaching the conclusion of the book, getting what they want. So a lot of the time, in order to reach the conclusion, to get what they want, they do need to investigate, they do need to problem solve, they do need to experiment. So it's just like the nature of the problems that I set up in the book that makes the scientific process kind of need to happen. But enough about characters. Let's move on to just like general themes. First of all, I don't actually know if this counts as a theme. I'm really bad at like figuring out what theme actually is in a book. But first thing on this list, cults. Kind of crazy, especially for it to be a trend. I guess not like literally cults, but more like these small niche, well, maybe they're not small. A lot of the time they are like in power, but very devoted groups of people to where either it is literally a religion that they are all connected with, or whatever is connecting them is so strong that it feels like religion. And sometimes that belief is also baseless in terms of like reality, where it can't be proven, so it would technically be religious. Now, I am not religious, nor was I brought up religious. Never even experienced that world. So this is not so much from a like worship and devotion side and like understanding how that works and how that feels, I guess, but the ideas of devotion and struggle with that devotion that sort of comes with religion in that way are things that I really like to explore in my books and in my characters, even if it is more of like devotion towards a corporation and that struggle with that devotion for a corporation and not so much a religion, but still that pulling that theme. Does that make sense? The biggest one, the biggest offender of this is Project What. It's literally all about a religious group that became very extreme in their actions toward the island that they're all on, and sort of figuring out their history, yada yada yada. I will not go on that rant right now. Another one, however, again, that I haven't written yet, is Project Moonrat, where in that world the Earth is ruled by a central power that basically runs as a religion. There's different like tiers of people, and they have their own like outfits and like stuff like that to get into this ruling group. It's very difficult. It's very rare, and the people that do end up there do anything they can to keep their position. And I talked about this in the video in which I started brainstorming Project Moonrat, But these people are devoted not to like a god or a deity or something like that, but more so the advancement of humanity as a whole. They see that as like salvation, I guess, is like bringing people to the next step in like human evolution. That's the idea. But stuff like that, great character conflict. Great way to have a character fall apart. I love it. All right, 2 more, and they kind of go together. They're about setting. They're about setting. First is heavy, overwhelming nature. It's everywhere in my books. There's always a part where my characters have to enter the wilderness. That sounds weird. Give me a second. First of all, nature's beautiful, and it's so fun to describe. I love description. I love writing description. That is why for writing warm-ups, I will literally do like sensory exercises to describe as much as possible, because I need to get it out of my system so I can actually write my book. So if a story or a portion of a story is taking place in nature like that, I am the happiest person in the world. And more specifically for nature, the nature or wilderness in my worlds is for the most part new, completely new. It's completely made up, completely world built. Yes, like Project What? The entire world has basically been abandoned because of nuclear war. So in the 100 years between now and, the nuclear war in the past, the Earth has been able to heal without humans there, but it has healed under a cloud of radioactive fallout. So it's growing back. Plants are coming back, trees are growing again, like things are thriving, but they've thrived in a very altered state. So that's a lot of fun to just see like overwhelming growth on top of what used to be like ginormous cities or huge neighborhoods or what have you, but it's also like a little bit corrupted. It feels a little off. And then for Project Star, my sci-fi, they end up on a planet, uninhabited planet, that is completely like covered in moss. In a way, like moss, lichen, very primitive plant life. There are some like small foresty things, but nothing super crazy. The only overwhelming part is that it's completely new. They have to understand what they're getting at, and frankly, they don't know what they're getting at. And Project Glass as well, it does take place on Earth in the modern era, so it could happen pretty much anywhere with a nice green forest. But the main thing about the forest is that it has been altered by the spores and the virus that creates the monsters in that world. So anything in that forest, including the town that the book takes place in, has been altered by this spore thing that no one knows where it came from. It just showed up one day. Plants behave differently, animals behave differently. Obviously, the humans are in danger constantly. And it's like slightly familiar, kind of like Project What, where it's like technically you know what's happening, but at the same time, it's like you gotta kind of be on your guard. And then finally, this one's a little bit of a stretch, and it's kind of weird. But in my stories, I tend to confine where the characters live, or where they can operate, where the story can take place. Project What, obviously, is on an island in the middle of a radioactive planet Earth, so they're kind of stuck on this island. Project Star, the whole thing is that they've been stuck on a space station for 1,000 years and they want a planet of their own. Project Glass, they're quarantined in their small town and they're literally not allowed to leave. Even like my new projects, like Project Luna, they're stuck in the city they were born in because they simply do not have the means to leave. Project Jade, maybe not so much, though it will be in one city, just because we don't need to leave the city. Project Moonrat, kind of. It takes place in space, so most of the time they are in ships or on stations. So, confined, I guess? I don't know. And then definitely Project Chosen, where the whole concept is that the world has been swallowed by like this death, this lifelessness, and only certain small areas are still livable, and it only takes place in one of those small towns. So definitely that one too. Honestly, I might just do this because it limits how much I need to know about the world. Makes it easier on me to have a smaller place that they can exist in, and that's it. But it also provides a fairly simple, easy character motivation. It doesn't have to be their only motivation, but it's a nice starting one where they simply want out. they want to leave whatever place is trapping them. That's one of the main characters in Project Glass's whole thing. She wants out of the town. My main character in Project What? Her main motivation for getting into the big prestigious school is to get off of the island, to figure out what else is out there. So I do use it. I use it a lot. Anyways, those are my writing trends, my writing tropes. Those were patterns that I tend to see in a lot of my projects. I think it's fun. I think it's silly. I don't expect myself or anyone, frankly, to be completely 100% original with every project. Obviously, the concepts and the plot should be different. You shouldn't follow like a strict format and be like, oh, we're just gonna change the name of the characters here. Don't do that. But finding those little quirks, those little tidbits, those little, we're gonna use the word themes again, that like an author has, I think that's very fun. I think that's very cool. So let me know what your guys' trends are, what your guys' little author tropes are. I would love to know. I would love to know if you have any at all. Maybe, I mean, I have a lot of projects, I can't lie. I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like I have enough projects at this point to see those trends, though really I was starting to see these with just the 3, like Project What, Star, and Glass. So let me know if you have found some trends in your projects as well. Let me know if you share any with me, or let me know if you know of any like author trends in published authors that you have read. Like, I would love to know. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I thought this was a silly little video. I think it's fun. In the future, I'll definitely have to revisit it and see if I feel the same way about like the same things in my projects, or if I have more things that I've found are consistent over my projects. But yeah, let me know anything and everything in the comments. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.